This is Dr. Jonathan Hansen. I'm the president of World Ministries International, as well as Eagle Saving Nations. And you're watching or listening to the Warning Program. Wherever you are watching or listening, welcome. Check my website, worldministries.org, worldministries.org. I'm also the president of Eagle Saving Nations. We have to have another great awakening to stop this republic from falling. They're trying to topple the republic right now. Only you can stop it. Check Eagle Saving Nations on my website, worldministries.org. Join it today. Special guest, Dominick Imperato. Dominick, welcome to the Warning Program.
Hi, Dr. Jonathan. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, I tell you, it's a pleasure having you on. And I understand that you have a job you just love. You want to share that?
Yeah, so I am a professional sports photographer, mainly specializing in equine photography,
Okay.
jumping specifically.
Yeah.
I get to travel the country and the world doing that. And so I'm blessed. I thank Jesus every day that I get to do what I do.
Amen.
And I'm so grateful. I get to wake up each day thinking I've waited my entire life for this day.
Wow. Such a beautiful thing when we can do what, if you want to say what we're called to do, created to do, long to do, because many people that don't like their jobs.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I find that a lot of people think that they love their job, but it's not exactly what God is calling them to do. And when they're able to find that, then they have that aha moment of, oh man, this is what loving what I do feels like. Wow.
You're exactly right. Now, I had invited you for this program because I know you have a tremendous testimony, and I want to get to that. And maybe you can start off like when you first accepted Christ, and then continue. Share your life so people realize what you've gone through, and you came out of it, and God can bring them out of whatever their circumstance is. God can give them a future. So, Dominick, go ahead.
Absolutely. So, my faith walk and my faith journey and story is, I'd say it started when I was about 15 or 16.
Okay.
I didn't really grow up before then with any sort of religion or spirituality or anything.
Sure.
I started to, get a little bit curious about it. My mom actually modeled it. She's my stepmom, but she's my
Okay.
mom.
Sure. You bet.
And she brought it into the house. I'm forever grateful for that as the first, step in opening the door for it to happen.
Wonderful.
When I was about, I want to say 16 or 17, at a leadership conference Sunday sermon of John Maxwell
Okay.
in Las Vegas, the sermon happened, and then at the end of it, he opened up the floor, and anyone who wants to come down and give their life to Christ, come on down, and that whole thing, and and I was called to, and so I did, and forever grateful for that.
Wow.
When I was about 17 or 18, I started to get involved in a local church.
Okay.
I was involved for about year and a half, roughly. I forever grateful for them. I got baptized there at
Wonderful.
one of their baptism functions, and that was amazing. So then when I was about 19, I started to drift away
Okay.
from the Lord.
Okay.
And I started, just smoking a little bit of marijuana and just doing things, not too much, but just, still, I was doing it.
Yeah.
I was still doing it.
Yeah.
And first lesson I've learned is that even if you're just doing a little bit of something, you're still doing it.
That's good.
You're, sin is sin.
Sin is sin.
And I then, the more and more I, the months and couple of years went on, I started to drift further and further away.
Okay.
And then just before I turned a little bit before I turned 20, so July 22nd, 2017, I moved from Southern California to Boulder, Colorado. I lived in Boulder, Colorado for almost exactly 3 years.
Okay.
I'll touch more on that in a bit. And during that time, I was rock climbing. I was working as a chef. I was, just living life, but not the way that God had intended for me.
Sure.
And I started to do more and more drugs and harder drugs.
Wow.
And by the end of those 3 years, I was pretty full-blown addict.
Okay.
I had done anything and everything except for knowingly I never did methamphetamine.
All right.
And I never did heroin.
Wow.
But everything else I did. And I spent a little bit of time, I spent a little bit of time selling. It was just to be able to fuel that, addiction. And it wasn't good, but, like my dad says, you don't know what you don't know. And I had completely forgotten about Jesus. I had completely written him off.
Wow.
I completely come to accept, it was sad. It's sad to think about it now. Well, not sad. I'm grateful that I'm not there anymore.
Sure.
And I had reached the point where I remember talking to one of my other degenerate friends of, I'm not really expecting to, this was when I was 22.
Wow.
And I remember saying, yeah, I don't really, it would be nice, but I don't really expect to outlive my parents.
Okay.
I had just, I wasn't sad. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't suicidal by any means, but I knew somewhere deep down, I knew that the road I was on and the destination I was headed towards ended in death.
Okay. You just knew it.
I just knew it. I had seen it.
Sure. Sure.
Then COVID happened.
Okay.
And the start of that. I moved back to California for around a month. And there was my roommate at the time was in a really bad spot. And then we were addicts together.
Okay.
And then I moved back. I went back to Boulder, Colorado. This was end of April, beginning of May, 2020.
2020.
Yep. And that's when it really started to get intense.
Wow.
And the biggest usage of it all and all the degenerative behavior, and I never felt as though I was hurting anyone.
Okay.
I never did. But I never took a second to really think about that and come to realize that, one, I was hurting myself.
Sure.
A ton.
Sure.
And two, I was hurting people. It's, not like in the way of, me going out to the street and, punching someone. I wasn't hurting anyone in that way, right?
That's right.
But I was if the people I loved and the people that I knew loved me knew what I was doing, which they didn't. They didn't. I kept all that, that side like a secret from everyone.
Sure.
And you're only as sick as your secrets. And I didn't feel like I was hurting anyone, and that's kind of one of the things I used to justify my excessive usage and my excessive behavior. And then July 22nd, 2020, or a couple weeks before then, I was at a party in the mountains, and I got offered some what I was told were oxys.
Okay.
Oxycontin. And I was like, okay, and I'd sworn off pain pills because I did them when I was like 17, but because I was so worried that I would have a predisposition to them because my biological mother had some stuff when I was younger.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do anymore. I'm not going to do them anymore. And I was at this party in the mountains, and I was, I was on a bunch of other different stuff, and I was like, you know what? Whatever. Just this one time. Why not? I did it, and just a little bit, and it was what I had been looking for at that moment in time.
Wow.
Suffice, needless to say, I wanted more. And so I did some more, but then and this part I actually don't remember. I only remember one little bits and pieces, but mainly what other people have told me. July 22nd, 2020. I guess I went to someone's house, bought some stuff, was going to be giving it to someone else because they needed something, or they thought they needed something, and it was a bunch of the oxys.
Okay.
I don't know how many I took. All I know is I probably took a bunch. Turns out they weren't oxys.
Wow.
They were what are called blue 30s, which is a pressed pill from Mexico of pure fentanyl and methadone. So fentanyl and then synthetic heroin, which,
Wow.
right? Yeah. I overdosed. I had, my roommate at the time didn't know what to do. And he called one of our other friends over who lived across the hallway from us in the apartment building, and he had some like lifeguard training, and so he called 911 and started CPR on me. My roommate had seen me, kind of found me like hunched over on the couch. I had aspirated, I had vomited over myself, like I was full blown overdose.
Sure.
And thank God for our friend across the hall. Thank God for him, because if it wasn't for him, I mean, there are a lot of elements. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't be here. If it weren't for that person, I wouldn't be here. That was the first.
Okay.
That was the first person.
So they called 911.
Yeah. The real first one was God, but yeah. So they called that. They called the police and the ambulance. They came. During the ambulance ride, I suffered 3 heart attacks, 2 seizures, and a stroke.
My goodness. And how old were you?
I'm 27 now. So I believe I was 23, I want to say. Maybe?
Yeah.
So, somewhere around there.
2020.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And so I died.
Wow.
A few times. One of them was particularly longer than the others, but I I was dead. There was no readout, no heartbeat, nothing, and I
You flatlined.
flatlined. Yep. And
Did they shock you?
I don't know. I know that they thank God for nurses. They are, every time I meet one, I just give them the biggest like praise because they there was a nurse in the ambulance that kept doing chest compressions.
Wow.
They had already done probably 15 or 1600 of them on me. She was worried that she had like cracked a rib or something.
Sure.
She didn't. I mean, like right at my solar plexus, sometimes if I stretch or like yawn or sneeze, it'll like kind of crack, like, you know, like when you crack a finger. And whenever that happens, I'm reminded. I'm like, yep, there we go. uh,
That's amazing. If she did that many, they didn't bust a rib.
She was about to give up.
A lot of people do bust ribs when they do that.
She was about to give up.
Wow.
And she did one more round, and then like a few into that round, I came back. I was in a coma for a week. During that time in the coma, I remember everything.
Wow.
I seriously thought that it was real life. Like, I woke up after the coma thinking I had been all those places that I had seen. I thought that I had been to, you know, like, I thought that I was in Japan. I thought that I was in like a bunch of places, like, but I wasn't. During that time in the coma, I was tested again and again and again and again and again. And I kept dying again
Wow.
and again and again and again. Granted, remember, I thought this was all real life. I thought this was all actually happening.
Yeah.
I kept dying different ways, and being taken advantage of, and just like being forced to do things and forced to make choices, and then making the wrong choice and then dying again. And I saw, just when I thought everything was going good, then it happened to not, and I saw the world end in fire and flames and war.
Wow.
And some people will call it purgatory, some people will call it hell. I have seen quite a bit. And
well, there is a hell, that's for
sure.
sure.
There absolutely is.
And so many people I've done programs now since 2000 on television, 1998 on radio, probably pushing 10,000 programs, and including a week of where people came back from the dead, doctor witnesses, and what they saw in hell, if they were dying and they were not serving Christ and they're screaming the demons. I mean, I'll tell you what, there's a real hell, there's a real heaven,
There is.
and what people describe coming back from the dead that went to heaven. So people, there is a hell, there is a heaven, and I'll tell you what, the Bible, we're very close to 2 billion people dying. The book of Revelation coming to pass. And so you need to be understanding these things, and you need to get your heart right with God. Dominick, so God spared your life, and so tell us how you got right with God then.
After that, I woke up from the coma, had to relearn how to walk, talk, do all the things. The stroke that had happened to me was pretty substantial.
Wow.
I couldn't move any of my body.
Yeah.
When I woke up,
Yeah.
I was flapping my arm around.
Wow.
And I just kept, my first words coming out of the coma were, "I'm sorry."
Wow.
Like, I had known what I'd done. Even
Yeah.
if I didn't know what I did, I knew what I did.
Yeah.
And God spared me, and He brought me back.
Wow.
And since then, yeah, there have been ups and downs. I haven't touched hard drugs since then. I haven't touched other drugs, like more earth, drugs, since just over a year ago. And there have definitely been ups and downs, even since then, in my pursuit to have a relationship with Christ. But over the past, I want to say, year and a half to 2 years, I've really started to make more of an effort. And more things, you know, I've always heard, especially from my dad and my mom, is when you're doing something right and when you're walking in the Lord, that's when the devil's going to try to get you. When you know you're doing something right, that's when you're going to, that's when he's going to try to get you. And, well, whatever it may be, temptation, sadness, whatever it is. And since then, quite a few things have happened that I could have allowed to set me back in my journey to pursue the Lord. But I just remind myself that each and every single day is new. Each and every single day is a gift. Everything happens for a reason. And even if I don't understand what that reason is yet, I will. And it's all in God's timing. And I've always, for the past, I want to say 12 years, I've lived with this statement in mind. The power lies in your response to the circumstance. There are only a couple things we can actually control in this life, and that is what we say and do and how we respond to the things that happen to us. Not react. Reacting's emotional, but responding's logical. And throughout my journey to get to know Christ better, it's brought me an immense sense of peace. I mean, goodness. Granted, after that whole experience, I never, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do drugs again. Nothing else is going up my nose. Nothing, right? And thank you, God, that I've been able to find this immense sense of peace. And not every day is going to be sunshine and cupcakes and rainbows, but if you walk in the Lord, then you will find peace, no matter what's happening to you or around you. And Amen. It's so apparent, especially in today's society, of the people that operate like that and the people that don't.
Amen.
And I pray that everyone can find the peace that and it's not like you have peace now, you're forever and ever and ever. No, it's a constant thing. You gotta, when you go to the gym, you don't just get a 6-pack and then stop going to the gym and expect the 6-pack to stay there forever. No, you got to keep working on it. But the more and more you work on it, the stronger and stronger that spiritual 6-pack is gonna get.
Yes.
And the more and more peace you're going to be able to feel. And yeah.
I'm glad you tuned in to the Warning Program. This is Dr. Jonathan Hansen, President of World Ministries International, Eagle Saving Nations. Dominick Imperato, he's been my guest. Tremendous testimony. Accepted Christ, drifted away, got into deep trouble, drugs, died several times, heart attack, stroke, 3 heart attacks.
3 heart attacks, 2 seizures, and a stroke. Bless you.
3 heart attacks, 2 seizures, and a stroke. Wow. I'll tell you what. They thought he was dead. He came back because God is in control of our life.
And
Go ahead.
if there's one last thing that I would like to add.
Yes, go ahead.
For anyone listening to this that may be in my shoes or may have been in my shoes or know someone that has been in my shoes or is, there is hope. There is peace that you can find within God. And you are loved. You are immensely loved.
Amen. So if you've listened to the testimony, if not, go to my website, worldministries.org, and watch and listen to it. Because I'll tell you what, you could be in the same situation, and God has spared your life time and time again, and you know it should be over. There's a reason for it. There's an eternity. There's a heaven. There's a hell. You can have peace. He can deliver you. He can set you free. You can have a future. Right now, Dominick is doing something that he loves to do. He's getting paid for what he loves to do. And that can be you, because God knows your future. Just accept him today. My phone number, 360-629-5248. 360-629-5248. Operators are waiting. They'll be glad to talk with you, pray with you, send you Christian literature. Again, my website, worldministries.org, worldministries.org. Dominick, thank you for being on our program today.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. I greatly appreciate it. It's been an absolute honor.
And God bless you.
God bless you.